everybody, Lisa Schermerhorn.
Well, thank you so much, and it's a pleasure to be here. This one topic is near and dear to my heart. It's 4 ways we sabotage ourselves and what we do about it. And I've sabotaged myself over and over again. I think we all do it. And I wanted to break it down to help everyone kind of identify where we do this. So through this hour, I want to help you discover the impact of ways we sabotage ourselves, and I'll walk you through a discovery process of how our subconscious mind works, where our beliefs come from, and how we can eliminate them. So of the 4, I'm going to list them now. The first one is limiting beliefs. For some reason, maybe when you were a child, someone told you something and you believed it and it stayed with you for your whole life. Someone may have said you'd never amount to anything, you'd never be good at math. I had a golf pro who came to me when he was in his early 20s. He was he was playing at a professional golf course, and he did not play well. His putting game was the best part of his game. But at the tournament, he just couldn't putt. And someone walked up to him and told him, hey, you know what? It's too bad you can't putt because you'd be a great golf pro. And for 20 years, he couldn't putt. It was crazy. And so about an hour, I worked with him. He went out to the play 9 holes, and he contacted me, said he played the best golf he'd played in years. So it's amazing how these limiting beliefs can really affect us, and they're mostly unconscious. We don't even know where they come from and what how they're impacting us. The other thing is number 2 is negative thinking. I think of Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh, if you're all familiar with that, and it's like, oh, life sucks, then you die. The negative thinking is something that we all do. We can make things difficult for ourselves and see the worst case scenario. Number 3 is our fixed mindset. And the fixed mindset is the belief that you're either born with a gift or a talent, and it's fixed, and that's it. You can't ever you can't learn it. So some people believe that you're either born a natural athlete or a musician. And there are people who actually, the more they work at it, the better they can become. There was a story about a fellow who ran an IT company, and he wanted his employees to take a very difficult computer class. So what he did was he split the company in half, and he said half of these people take the class, and he used the fixed mindset on them. He said, look, you either have the ability to know this or you don't. And then he took another group of people and said, you know what, this is going to be hard, but I know that if you work hard and you persevere, that you're going to succeed. And it was amazing what happened with the 2 different groups of people. The first group, who believed that they couldn't be successful, a lot of them quit the class, a lot of them failed, they really struggled. The other group all succeeded, they all did very well. The 4th one is self-blame. A friend of mine told me that if a policeman could hear what she said to herself in the morning when she woke up and looked in the mirror, that she would be arrested for assault and battery. We are our own worst critics. We are so good at beating ourselves up and saying really terrible things about ourselves. And I remember in my early 20s, I was on vacation, and I remember feeling very subconscious about being in a bathing suit and not feeling good about myself. Well, fast forward 20 years, I was in my early 40s, and I was going through my photo albums, and I took a look at that picture, and I thought, oh my God, I actually looked really good, and I never appreciated that. So I made a promise to myself that from now on, in the future, I'm always going to appreciate where I'm at and what I look like, because 20 years from now, I'm going to think I look really hot. So we all have a saboteur. It came into our lives to protect us. And our saboteur tends to be a younger version of ourselves that developed. It's like this part of us that developed a technique to protect ourselves. And it could be through a habit. It could be through an addiction, something that it thinks that it's helping us. For instance, I had a client who was a smoker and could not quit smoking. And he had started 40 years ago. And what happened to him was he was 12 years old, his father died, and his uncle took him to his father's funeral and gave him a cigarette to help him feel better. Well, what happened then was he started using the cigarettes to suppress his grief. Anytime he tried to quit smoking, the grief would come up, but he didn't realize that's what it was. He just knew he needed another cigarette. So by going back and getting to the root cause, to that original place where that cigarette smoking started and dealing with the grief, he was able to quit smoking. Or someone who didn't get the love and attention that they craved as a child, some people will fill the void with food, and the food will create a numbing sensation. So it's all about getting to that root cause, and it's always an unconscious behavior. And as Kevin always says, when it's a war between your conscious and your unconscious mind, guess who wins? That child, that subconscious mind always wins. So let's see, I want to talk to you about brain frequencies. So when you are a child, you are born with a brain frequency of delta. And that is a huge wave. It's like this big, long wave. And you want to think about all of the things that you had to learn as a child. So what an infant has to absorb. And so you're absorbing light, color, sound, emotions. Then when you get into about elementary school, you get to something called theta. And theta is a wave that's a little bit smaller than the delta wave. And then junior high, high school, you're an alpha, so that's smaller, but you're still absorbing large amounts of information. And then we get to beta as adults, and that's a short frequency. So when we are speaking to other people, we're generally in beta. So when you go into a meditative state or a relaxed state, or when you've used hypnosis or NLP, that actually puts you into those other brain frequencies that allows you to access where that information was programmed. So it's a very fascinating way of getting to the root cause of what you're looking for. So one of the things that I want to do is help you, and the other thing is when you have a thought, the thoughts create neuropeptides. And the neuropeptides go out through your body and attach themselves to your cells. That's why when you have a thought or a memory, you can actually physically feel it in your body, and it will store in different areas of your body. So the first thing I do is teach people, and some of the people in this group know this already, is the breath. And I'd like you all to right now relax, and I'm going to teach you this deep breath because this is an important breath to use for any kind of stress, any kind of anxiety. And you're going to take a deep breath below the belly button. So you're going to take a deep breath in through into the nose and fill your lower abdomen. Now what that does is it tugs on what we call the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve is attached to the parasympathetic nervous system. So that will calm your nervous system down. So as we're going to do several breaths, And I'm also going to ask you to do something after that. So we'll get into this nice breathing state, and we're going to do about 6 breaths. So we're going to take a deep breath in, and I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold for 3 seconds, and then out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold for 3. 1, 2, 3, and then deep in again, in through the belly, the lower belly. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold for 3. 1, 2, 3, and then out for 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold for 3. In again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold for 3. And then out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold for 3. 1, 2, 3. Again, 2 more breaths. Deep in breath. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold for 3. And then out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Last breath. Hold for 3. 1, 2, 3. And then in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold for 3. And then out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, there's a reason why I want you all to be in a relaxed state, because I'm going to say some things to you, and I want you to be able to feel where you feel this in your body. Because I'm going to have you pick one thing that we're going to work on tonight. So I want you to be in a place, now there's going to be 4 topics, and I'm sure there's going to be several things that will trigger you. I know that when I was coming up with these were all really strong things that were coming up for me. So I want you to go through, as I say these words, just see how it feels in your body. Don't pick a number 10 for this exercise, because I won't have time to work with you individually. So pick something that's kind of medium to low. So I just want you to feel this. So the first topic we're going to talk about is money. So what was money to you growing up? And I find this so interesting, because I'm going to ask you all right now, who here wants to make $1 million? You know, most of us, hopefully all of us, do want to make a lot of money. Now I'm going to ask you, imagine a 20,000 square foot mansion. And now I'm going to ask you, what are the people like who live in that mansion? Are they happy? Do they like each other? What's going on through your mind? And you might want to jot some of these things down. What are the people like who live in this 20,000 square foot mansion? And just take a moment to think about that. Okay. So one of the things that was interesting is when I've shown that picture, a picture of a mansion in some of my other talks, the responses that I've gotten were, actually, you know what, I'd love for some of you to unmute and tell me what some of the responses that you've got. Were you surprised by your response, the feeling in your body, and something that came up for you? Anyone want to talk about their feelings around money?
Hey, Lisa.
I will. So for the $1 million, it was not right now, too much work, too much responsibility. For the 20,000 square foot house, it was too much, too big, excessive, and all these judgment, this feeling of judgment, and then over the top.
Interesting. Who else? Who else has something about money?
The people in the house, to me, seem to be distant from each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not social. The house was, I guess, too big.
Too big. It was-
I saw the house was too big and the people were in it were so tiny they got lost.
Yeah, I saw Patty wrote disconnected. So it's interesting. Maybe 20,000 square feet is a little exaggerated, but I've had people say that the people hate each other, they're getting a divorce, their children hate them, and also, what was it? They can't afford to heat the house. So I found it interesting because for a lot of people, yeah, here we have people in the mansion are stuffy and stuck up. Oh, we have someone who thinks it's glamorous, someone else aloof. So where did your beliefs around money come from? What were your beliefs growing up? Did you have money? Were there issues around money growing up? Because those beliefs stay with you. So it's important to understand what your beliefs around money are, because if you don't believe that people with money are happy, then why would you ever want to attract it? And it doesn't mean that you want to be in a 20,000 square foot house, because first of all, I don't want to have to clean that house. But but it's important for you to just think about. So money, what was money to you growing up? What did your parents think of money? And do you have enough money coming in? So that's one of the categories. I'm going to have 4. So pick one, and then within that, I want you to, get it even narrower. Second one is jobs. Are you happy in your job or your career? Are you there to just pass the time or just get through work out of obligation? Do you have a dream business or career that you've always wanted, and what's stopping you? So if you want to close your eyes and think about any of those topics or something else related to your job that I haven't mentioned, and see if there's anything there that maybe triggers you that you'd want to work on. The third one is relationships. So this is another major one in people's lives. Are you happy in your relationship? Either romantic or friendships. Do you have a lot of drama in your life? So you want to think about what are your relationships like in your life? Do you have a support system? Do you have people who you feel that love you or you feel loved? Or do you feel like an outsider, kind of a black sheep? So I'd like you to think about that feeling right now and see if anything triggers you there. And the fourth one is about your health. And this is really important because there's actually a mental component to your physical health. So there's a great book that I use. There may be some of you here who are familiar with Louise Hay. There's a book that I use called Your Body Speaks Your Mind, which is fantastic. And it talks about your emotional situation and how that impacts your physical body. There's a lot of metaphor with that. If people have issues with shoulders, it's oftentimes feeling the weight of the world on their shoulders. Lower back issues can be financial or feeling unsupported. So there's many more of those. But when you get to health, so you want to think about what your mindset is about your health. Are you healthy? Are you at the weight you want to be? Do you exercise, or is there something that gets in your way around exercise? What's your physical health? Are you in the shape you've always wanted to be in? And what's stopping you? What's stopping you? So maybe there's a topic in there around health. So I'd like you to all think about one. And we're going to do, as you're coming up with a topic, and please don't come up with, when you feel it in your body from 0 to 10, you're going to come up with a score, 10 being the highest, 0 being neutral. And this is a technique that I want to teach you. It's called the emotional release method. And it's quite a powerful technique. But with a large group, I can't work with you individually. Yes, Deb Shapiro, thank you. I went blank on the author's name. Your Body Speaks Your Mind. Thank you, Amin. I appreciate that. So I want you to come up with does everyone, I'm hoping that everyone has a topic, and I want you to breathe and think about where in your body do you feel it. And if you don't feel it there, if it's a thought, that's okay too. But you want to pick one topic. And then as we go through this process, you're going to think about where in your body is it. And this fellow, Lester Levinson, when he was in his 40s, had so many physical ailments. And he was this brilliant physicist. He lived on Central Park. And at 42, he'd had several heart attacks. And the doctors basically told him that he didn't have long to live. And he went into his apartment and he reflected and was like, what is wrong? Why am my body is breaking down? And he came up with this idea that your thoughts create issues in your physical body. And he came up with this emotional release method. And it's really simple. And I'm going to type this into the chat for you right now. And it's, should I let it go? Yes. Could I let it go? Yes. When? Now. So this is a mantra, and I use this mantra all the time. I literally will use this every day, constantly. So what I'd like you to do is focus on that area, give it a number, and I want you all now to repeat this mantra. And you can do it along with me. Should I let it go? Yes. Could I let it go? Yes. When? Now. Should I let it go? Yes. Could I let it go? Yes. When? Now. Should I let it go? Yes. Could I let it go? Yes. When? Now. So I want you now to identify in your body, take a deep breath, and whatever number you had before, I'd like you to change to let me know if that number has changed. So if you'd like to unmute yourself and let me know what your experience was with that.
Nobody else? I'll throw one in. I went with what I was feeling, which was all in my upper chest, from a 5 to a 2 or 1.5. It was pretty cool. It was pretty cool.
Nice. So let me ask you this. Once you released it to a 2 or a 1.5, what did the thought change to? Did it become something else?
Well, it felt like it wasn't as difficult, or wasn't as much of a difficult problem as I thought it was. It's still the same subject matter, but it felt like it was less difficult.
Okay, good. Okay, so we had a couple people who didn't have any changes. Sometimes it takes more than just a couple. So we can go deeper, or sometimes if it's a bigger subject, we have to break it down to something even smaller.
I did it on money, and
Okay.
it was like a 5.
Okay.
I felt it in my throat and in my mouth, and all of a sudden, it did go down a couple of points. But I suddenly the saying that came to mind was, "Put your money where your mouth is." And I have major dental problems.
Oh.
And I have to have the money for it. And I'm telling myself I don't have the money. So guess what? I need to change that. So thank you.
You can do some ho'oponopono on that.
Yeah.
We can talk about that later. Let's see. Amin, you said it worked nicely for you. Would you be willing to unmute and talk about your experience? I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name correctly.
Amin, can you unmute?
Yes, okay. Can you hear me?
Yes,
We can.
Okay, great. Thanks. Thanks, Lisa, Martin, Kevin. I worked on some safety issues. I have some fear about unfamiliar surroundings and unfamiliar people. So I tried those questions, and I felt more relaxed after going through that process.
Nice. Nice. Oftentimes what happens, thank you, Amin, for contributing. What will happen is you'll suddenly reframe. And for those of you who don't know what reframing is, it's like all of a sudden there's a shift where at one point you saw something as a negative, and then now you see it as a positive. For those of you who, okay, Patty, yours lowered by 3. You felt it in your belly. Anything else you want to say, Patty, about your experience?
I just could tell when I breathed, it was there was a different tightness. There was a different feeling of pressure in relationship to that when it dropped. Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Yeah, it's hard in a large group because then for those who didn't have any lowering, that I would want to work with them and go deeper. But here I'm going to do a little word association. We can do another one. Is anyone who's stuck? We can actually, okay, Erin, you said you felt it in your abdomen and it lowered by 2. Awesome. So I'm going to give you a couple of other word associations and see if any of these come up with another one. We'll try another round. The first one around money is the word retirement, savings, bills, or bank account. If anyone has a word in there that they want to work on. In career, I'll give you some other words: employment, passionate, economic downturn, and uncertainty. And then in relationships, we can go into drama, divorce, alone, unloved, unappreciated. And then in the health area, there's weight, in shape, no energy, or exercise. So I'd like you all to pick one of those. And again, close your eyes and do the deep breath. Give you a couple minutes, little bit to just feel where you feel it in your body. Again, please don't pick a 10 because we don't have the time or the energy to really give you the individual attention. So pick something 5 or lower, and we're going to do this again. So we're going to start with focus on the area. Now, in some cases, it may go up a little bit before it goes down. And that's okay. Should I let it go? Yes. Could I let it go? Yes. When? Now. Should I let it go? Yes. Could I let it go? Yes. When? Now. Should I let it go? Yes. Could I let it go? Yes. When? Now. And I'd like you all to take a nice deep breath. And anyone here feel a shift? And feel free to unmute and give me some feedback.
Was that the dream to
What, to sing in the back of the book?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Does anyone want to unmute and let me know how that exercise was for them? If it lowered, if it went higher, if it stayed the same?
I'll share, Lisa. It's Michael here.
Hi, Michael.
Yeah, so, well, one, I didn't realize I had money issues or I had a problem with perception of money. So that was the first thing that you kind of blew my mind on this. And then the second one is, it was the word I chose was retirement, because everything else was probably close to a 10. Retirement seemed to be relatively like in the middle ground, kind of around 5. And so I felt like it went down to 3, but here's what I don't understand. Am I just ignoring it, or am I like letting it go?
You're actually letting it go. You're reframing it. You're releasing from a cellular level. Now, if you've got the other ones that are 10s, that means that there's a lot more underneath. So now that you have the knowledge that it's there, now you know what to work on. Because we sabotage ourselves in areas of money. How many times do we work on something and all of a sudden we, forget to call someone back where it could have been a really, big client, or something happens where we just will sabotage us in many different ways. Physical. I get people who come and start to lose weight, and they're on this journey, and all of a sudden they go into the refrigerator and they're suddenly eating a pint of ice cream, and they're like, I don't understand. I just lost 10 pounds and now I'm gaining 5 back. So we sabotage ourselves in different ways. Okay, so Brenda, good. You've I see you've had some down. So is this helpful to you, Michael? Okay, good. So it's good to know that about yourself, so you've got some things to work on. Does anyone else have a topic that they had that they'd like to share about? Brenda, you want to give some feedback about, you said you felt it in your chest and it came down on a lesser question. You have to unmute.
Hi, Lisa. Sorry, I'm really not very good at this.
It's okay. I'm just learning myself.
Well, as most people know, I feel everything in my feet.
Yeah.
Definitely the subject. This time I picked a much lesser subject than my health, and came up with some feelings that felt more relieved after the breaths that we took and the questions, which seemed to relieve a little bit.
Good. Awesome. Is there anyone, do I have a volunteer of someone who would like some help getting down to, the idea is to get to neutral. It's not about getting, it's about getting to a place where you're neutral and it doesn't trigger you anymore. So is there someone who'd like to volunteer? You can unmute yourself. Let's see, Patty, if you notice yourself going back to a higher number, do you just the should, could, and when over to stop from responding to the trigger? If you go higher, that means there's a couple of underlying issues, so we want to break it down. So if it's a money issue, we want to go deeper into where the money is, and it may be different issues within money.
Even if it, like, those issues can come back up again, can they not?
They can, depending upon the subject, but we want to get it, to lower it. It will sometimes go up before it goes down again. Does that make sense? Because you're triggering all of a sudden. It's like, oh, I didn't think money was such a big deal for me, and all of a sudden it comes up and makes it higher before it goes lower again.
Okay. Does it, after you get it lowered, does it when there's a trigger in our lives that makes you go back to that feeling again, do you just use the same process to lower it again?
You can, but if you get to the root cause, it shouldn't trigger you as much.
Okay.
My mentor, this 92-year-old man, Dr. Al Tatarunas, I love this man. He has a ponytail and drives a Mercedes convertible. He's the coolest guy ever. So he called me one day, and he said his daughter had fallen. For you Bostonians, you all know the T or the subway. She fell and hit her head in the concrete, and she was hemorrhaging. She was in the hospital, and he woke up at 2 a.m, and he was trying to decide how worrying was helping her. So he decided to release that. And then he said, how is worrying helping me? And he decided to release that, because when you release the emotion around an event, you can be fully present. And then you're able to look at it at a more grounded place instead of making emotional decisions. So he was able to release it so that he could be fully available to his family and to his daughter's husband and to his daughter and working with the doctors and not getting all emotional and freaking out. Does that make sense? So the idea is to get, oftentimes if we're reacting and we're triggering at this point in our life, that oftentimes it'll bring you back. If it's a big high number, it has to do with something when you're younger. And there's a larger root cause that we need to get to. So let's see.
Could I tell just a little story about that?
Sure.
I used that on a client when I first learned how to do it. And she had come to me. She was so upset that her supervisor wouldn't give her Employee of the Year award. And then the supervisor left because she felt she deserved it. And when the supervisor left, another supervisor came in, and he gave her the Employee of the Year award, and she felt she didn't deserve it. So I forget what the first word was that she was, that was affecting her. I said, "Where are you feeling it?" And she goes like this across your chest. She says, "I feel it here." The next word was guilt. I said, "Where are you feeling that?" And she goes like this. And I said, "Are you Catholic?" She said, "I'm a recovering Catholic." And she said, "Oh my God, the guilt." And that was from childhood. And she got it like that. And she ended up eventually winning an award that got her into the Business New Hampshire magazine.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's really amazing. Yeah, I just find that this technique can be very powerful. And those of you who are hypnotists, it's even more powerful when someone's in trance, when someone's in a deeper state. I use this technique to release when people are under. Now, someone asked a question, how can cells keep the neuropeptides of the memory if our cells are constantly living, dying, and replicating? Well, it's our thoughts. So if you keep repeating these beliefs over and over again, you're just creating new cells. So it's about shifting and changing your thoughts so that you create a new belief system. So it's about a whole new belief system that you have to create. Because like the golfer for 20 years that I was talking about earlier, he believed that he couldn't putt. So he kept reinforcing it over and over again because he kept having, bad days on the golf course where he couldn't putt. So he kept, my golfing sucks. So I'll never be the great pro that I always wanted to be. When you get to the root cause and release that, then you have the ability to, it's almost like, I call it time travel for your emotions. You're going back and it's like dominoes. You're shifting it from the root cause, so everything gets knocked down and it shifts and changes for the future. So you're in a position where you may feel it, but you don't feel it as big, and you can work through it. I remember when I got through, when I was first being trained, I had the need to worry. Because I grew up in a household where I had really neurotic parents that worried about everything. Everything that you're ever gonna do, you're gonna die. If you go skiing, you're gonna die. If you get in a fast car, you're gonna die. Everything's gonna die. I saw a bear out my backyard last night, and my father texted me, "Oh my God, get in your house." I'm like, "I'm on the deck. He's not gonna bother me." But so I had to get over that need to worry. And he took 2 hours with me to get rid of that need to worry. That's how deep it was. He finally said to me, "Lisa, you're a relatively intelligent person, aren't you?" And I said, "Well, I hope so." And he said to me, "Well, if you have an issue, don't you think that you'll be able to think of it right away? That you'll have all those tools and resources available instead of having to go over and over and over again about all the things that you would have to, just in case you've got every single issue taking cover." And I said, "You know what, you're right." And I was able to let go of it and trust and surrender more. And for 2 weeks, I walked around and I didn't know what to think about, because I was so used to worrying all the time that I didn't know what to do with my brain. Because I realized that 80% of my thoughts were going into worrying, and only 20% were going into creating new things to my own life and my business. So that's another thing you want to be aware of in your subconscious mind is, especially with money, how much of your thoughts are actually going into worrying about something, because the universe doesn't know a negative. So if you say, "I don't want something," over and over again, guess what you attract? It happens with golfers. When you say, "I don't want to hit the golf ball over here, I don't want to hit the golf ball over there, to the right," guess where the ball goes? It's a great metaphor for life. So when you think about things, you always want to think about what you want, not what you don't want. So I don't know if we have time. I'd love to, if we have a couple minutes, is there someone who's stuck, who didn't have the experience of having it lower, that maybe we could take a couple minutes quickly if you feel comfortable? I have someone here. Well, if someone wants to unmute and let me know. But in the meantime, Amin said, "When I tried it on money, the thought, I have to work very hard to earn my money, came up. And after going through the questions to release it, should I replace it with another thought, or just leave it at that?" So the idea is to become neutral, because maybe you don't have to work really hard to make money. Maybe you can come up with something that will come to you that you may only have to work half as hard and make twice as much money, because people do that. Is that helpful? I mean, you want to get to the place of neutrality, so then you can attract what you want. So there's no negativity. Does this make sense, or does anyone have any questions for me around this?
That actually makes sense from a law of attraction standpoint, because if you reach neutrality, then you're not reaching further into positivity, which actually the opposite is scarcity. So then you've got that tension of the opposites.
Exactly. Whatever you focus on, oftentimes we'll make a vow as children, like, "I'll never allow myself to be in that position again." Well, guess what? We keep ending up in that position again, because you're actually saying, "This is what I want." You keep putting yourself in that situation. So you really want to think about what your mindset is. So we only have a couple minutes left, so I want to ask you all some questions. Hold on one second. So the topics that came up for you How afraid are you that your life won't change if you don't get rid of this? From 1 to 10, just think about that. If you don't get rid of that thought, now that you have an awareness of it, how afraid of you are that your life won't change if you don't get rid of it? And how would you feel if these issues were actually gone from 1 to 10? How would your life change if these issues were gone? And what does this issue cost you in your life? And now I'd like you to think about what a perfect day looks like. And if you had a perfect day, how close is that to the day that you actually have? And why is it so different? And think about 3 highlights of a perfect day, because maybe you could start to integrate 1 or 2 or 3 of them. And what do you need to do to get there, to have that perfect day or get those insights, those highlights? And what's in your way? So when you think about these things, you can use this release method to release your resistance. So that can open up the pathway for you to start moving in that direction. Does this make sense to everyone? Because I want to make sure that I'm clear. If anyone has any questions. Someone asked me a question. Do I do this with clients? Yes, I do. I do this with all my clients. When I start out, I ask them, we'll focus on a topic and we'll work through and really clear things out until they're neutral on something. Or if they're really struggling, sometimes it'll take more than 1 session to actually release that one belief system, because if it's something that's really deeply rooted, especially when it has to do with your tribe from growing up, if you shift the way you think away from your family unit, that can intimidate your family. And they may have a problem with you shifting and doing something different. And that can impact you as well. And that can hold you back. So there's a lot of fear around that. The releasing, okay, Brenda said the releasing worked well. I felt the number plunge and I didn't realize I was holding on so tight. Yeah, that's why the breathing can really help you zero in, and relaxing can help you zero in so you can really feel where it feels in your body. And now that you have this tool, you can use this anytime. JC, a perfect day for me is having a peace of mind, harmony, and knowing that I have a choice in every moment to go for a better thought. So JC, do you have resistance to that, or is that something that you feel that you can achieve?
No, that's what I have every day. I work at that to make that happen.
Yep.
Yeah. And I've really learned that choices, sometimes we don't think we have choices, and we have choices in every minute. And if I have something that's worrying me or is challenging, I think about going for the better thought with this. Okay, it's a challenge. You'll get through it. I kind of try to be my own cheerleader. And also one of my favorite sayings is when I'm in a challenging or worrisome mood, this too shall pass.
That's a great one.
Works every time for me.
Yeah. All right. This too shall pass. I use that a lot, or I'm doing the best I can with what I have.
Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you very much for that. So we have a couple minutes left, and I want to bring Kevin back on, and I'd like to just make sure, does anyone have any questions? Does anyone have, is everyone clear on this method and had a chance to feel a shift. Because if you didn't, please message me, because I'm happy to do some work with you one-on-one to help. Denise, thank you. Oh, good. You're relaxed and feeling calmer. That's wonderful.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Are there any last minute questions for Lisa?
Just I've used it for so long now with my clients and on myself. It works like a charm.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you, Sue.
All right. Anybody else?